Turning 13 is the 6th episode of the first season of Good Advice. This is directed by Barnet, Kellman, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it was really great to see Susan being really happy, as it's not something we've had quite recently. I won't go through things scene by scene. I will just talk very briefly about what happens and share some thoughts on those. And it all centres around Artie's daughter's upcoming bat mitzvah. And everybody's invited, everybody in the office is invited, which was a really nice way to tie all of the stories together. And Ronnie doesn't want to go because her ex-husband, understandably, as Artie's daughter's grandfather, is going to be there. And Susan tries to convince her to go there. She gives her this great speech about how Ronnie can put on her highest heels and her best pearls and her most alluring perfume and knock him dead, basically. And it seems like Ronnie's not giving. And I had a feeling that she would go, and obviously she did end up going. I loved her outfit. It's sparkly, it's dazzling, absolutely loved it. And I'd say the bulk of the second half of the episode takes place at the bat mitzvah, and I love the atmosphere. There are a lot of guests. In fact, I'd go as far as saying it's the scene with the most amount of extras so far in Good Advice. I could be wrong, but it definitely felt like the busiest. And it was a really lovely atmosphere. Susan was in really good spirits. She took Michael along, which was adorable. There's a great bit of dialogue between Michael and Susan towards the end when Susan has to go home. Michael tells her it's time to leave, and it was adorable. Really enjoyed that. Jack's part of it had some comedy, but it's a little uncomfortable because Jack is still struggling with gambling, and he gives Artie's daughter a check. Well, he gives Artie the check for $200 earlier on, but throughout the second half of the episode, clearly whatever he's gambled on, whatever his latest bet is, isn't going to plan, and he keeps knocking money off of the check, which is in itself a little bit awkward, but clearly he's deep in the thick of it, and they've definitely made it clear that this is not a good situation to be in, but they haven't made it too heavy yet. And I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. And I'm really keen to find out. So we did get some comedy from that, but it was definitely more uncomfortable in an eye-opening way. It wasn't uncomfortable as in I didn't enjoy it or anything, but it was definitely a little uncomfortable to watch regardless. But I'm keen to see what happens with that. We also have a teeny tiny part of the narrative with Sean where he claimed that he had been abducted. He was on a spaceship, an alien spaceship. I didn't care for it. It wasn't interesting, but it was just tiny padding. It didn't really affect anything at all. So it's a good episode. It's really nice to see Susan feeling good about herself. It's the first time she's been to a social occasion without her husband, or at least since the separation. It was really nice that Michael was there. He was absolutely adorable, and I thought it was a really fun episode, and obviously I'm really glad that Ronnie ultimately went along. I think it would have been a little bit devastating if she hadn't, and everything turned out really well. Turning 13 is a really great episode. It's also the last episode of the first season, which is devastating because we only have one season left. But I'm looking forward to seeing if there are any changes with the next season, seeing what happens with the characters. Really can't wait. And for now, I'm pleased to say that Turning 13 was a really brilliant episode.